Wow, such a beautiful California style morning. Apart from the fact that there's no beach and no ocean. And it's not 30 degrees and I'm in South Manchester. But other than that, it's exactly like California. Perfect day to be sat inside playing retro games.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Re-Review, the series where I get to replay and reassess games from my favourite gaming era. I'm Brian, also known as UKGN Zoidberg, and I used to be a member of the writing team for magazines such as Games X and Amiga Action. In this series, I'm going to be looking back at all of the games that I reviewed previously and seeing whether or not they're worth playing in 2023. For this latest episode, the game that we're going to be replaying is California Games 2 from Epix and US Gold, which was converted to the Amiga by Creative Materials. We're going to learn a little bit about the game, find out just how accurate my original assessment was, and then we're going to see how it compares to other multi-sports games like it on the Amiga in the Retro Game Super League. So let's get on with it. Throughout the history of video games, there have been developers who are so intrinsically linked with a certain type of game that that's all that you can think about whenever you hear their name. For instance, LucasArts made adventure games, Magnetic Fields were racing game specialists, and Core Design made platformers. The same is true of San Francisco-based Epix, who made a name for themselves in the field of sports games during the 1980s. In truth, the games that made their name were as diverse as any other company. From Jumpman on the Atari 8-bit and Apple II, to the likes of Pit Stop and Impossible Mission on the Commodore 64, the quality of their output was unquestioned. They even made what is arguably one of the most influential games of all time in the shape of Rogue, which has gone on to spawn an entire genre. When Summer Games arrived in 1984, they had already been making games for 7 years. It sold phenomenally well, and along with Daley Thompson's Decathlon from Ocean, it helped to popularise multi-sports games on home computers, while at the same time Konami were doing the same in the arcades with Track and Field and Hypersports. The Epix Games series would go on for many years and feature multiple releases. Winter Games and Summer Games 2 arrived in 1985, followed by World Games in 1986. That one featured diverse events such as log rolling, sumo wrestling, cliff diving, and tossing the caber. The formula remained the same throughout all the games: multiple events, simple controls, and competition for up to 8 players on a single computer. Then in 1987 came California Games, which is probably the most well-known of the lot. With 6 events, including halfpipe, BMX, and flying disc, it was a smash hit, and ended up being converted to many systems, including the Amiga version, which was developed by Westwood Associates. California Games 2 was inevitable, and it arrived for the PC in 1990. It gave us 5 more events to master. Snowboarding, body surfing, jet ski, and hang gliding were all new, with skateboarding being the only returnee. The Amiga version followed 2 years later, with conversion duties having been handled by Creative Materials, who were probably better known to Amiga players for Final Fight, as well as their game based on The Godfather. The following year, they would go on to make the official game of the Barcelona Olympics for Ocean Software. Away from the games themselves, Epix also played a huge part in developing a new handheld system, which they called the Handy, with a full-colour LCD screen. After searching for a production partner for many years, they eventually landed with Atari. The system was renamed the Lynx, and the rest is history. Little wonder that the Lynx version of California Games is considered by many, myself included, to be the best version of the game. And they were also responsible for the fantastic Chips Challenge as well. Epix's financial difficulties caused them to finally close their doors for good in 1993. And the rights to many of their back catalogue is owned today by UK-based System 3. A number of their games are playable today on Antstream. Now it's time to see what I thought of California Games 2, and take a look at my original review. My review appeared in issue 14 of Games X from July 1991. Our exclusive review of Jimmy White's Whirlwind Snooker took pride of place on the cover, with that game being awarded Game of the Week. Other games that I reviewed in the issue included Castles from Interplay and Arcade Trivia Quiz from Zeppelin Games. I also produced a player's guide for Shadow Dancer, helping anybody who played it to get through one of the game's trickier levels. Although I thought that California Games wasn't up to the quality of the first game, I did like a number of the little graphical touches throughout that did manage to raise a chuckle. I pointed out that all of the events included had a very limited lifespan and got boring in no time at all. I gave it 3.5 X's out of 5, with gameplay and lastability scoring 12 out of 20, and presentation faring slightly better with 13 out of 20. The skateboarding stands out as being the best of a mixed bunch, but it doesn't save the game from being decidedly average. Now let's move on to the playtest and see how well the game stands up today. Right, so this is the menu screen. As you can see, there are 5 events. You can click on each one to practice, and because of the nature of this game, I have drafted in UKGN's very own Teru to come and join me and play this one. So yeah, the PC version of this, which was the first version that I played, it was full 256 colours VGA.
Okay.
Whereas this is 32 colours, and I think you can kind of tell that they didn't, because the colours on this are very exceedingly strange. I mean, look at those red bodies. I mean, yeah, they're in the sun, but
it's the California sun. That's completely normal. Obviously, they're tourists because the locals wouldn't look like that.
So we'll go into some competition mode now. So as you can see, it does cater for up to 8 players on it. What it doesn't cater for is for any of those players to be computer controlled. Your option as a single player is either to just play practice mode over and over again,
yeah,
or play through a competition of all 5 events against yourself.
Okay, so not really an incentive to keep playing the game. Not unless you want to pretend and pronounce your mates after you've practiced it for about 6 days straight.
So you have to highlight all the events that you want, which in this case are going to be all 5 of them. So then let's go. So let's get ready to hang glide. Hang gliding first. Oh, damn.
Okay, my turn. How would you finish the event?
By landing.
Where?
Back on the cliff.
That's straight, isn't it?
Yep. But you went too high.
No. Oh, I go first. This is... Oh, come on! Just bunny hop my way down the cliff. Kick turn attempts 9.
Because moving left and right slows you down a little bit. Oh, damn you. This event is one of the ones where it kind of proves that Epic's used up all the good events on the first California games.
Yeah. I am finding it's doing the thing where, because I'm not playing, it looks like you should have jumped then and then, but that's because I'm not playing it.
So neither of us scored any points on that one.
Mm-hmm. Hey, made it to the end. I mean, the animations aren't too bad.
There's a lot of humorous little touches to the graphics, even if the colours are a little bit all over the place. Like a lot of games though, the instruction manuals don't seem to make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's a fault restricted to California Games 2. I think a lot of multi-sports games like this just rely on you learning them through trial and error.
Hey, we both did it. Wow.
And this is probably the best bit of graphics in the game that we're about to watch here.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Just that one little 2-second animation is probably the best bit of graphics in the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. No.
Nope, that. Not even to the first pipe. Wow. So we both faulted on that one.
Okay, I've completely lost the course there. 2,000 points.
Let's see if I can do better. Still did pretty poorly there.
So 2 events to 1.
At least it's not a complete TKO.
Although that's literally it. There's no winners. There's no winners podium or any fanfare at the end. That's it. It's just back to the menu again.
That sucks.
So overall impressions, not good.
No.
I enjoyed the hang gliding. I like the skateboarding, but that's about it. See, I think the bodyboarding just goes on too long and doesn't feel intuitive in any way. So yeah, nowhere near as good as the original California games. Let's leave it there and move on to the final summary. So thank you for joining me on that.
Yeah, well, next time make it a good game, okay?
Unless you've got a friend or two around to join you, there's no point in playing California Games 2, as it simply doesn't work as a single player game. When it came out on the PC, it felt like a lazy cash-in, with all of the best events having been used up in the first game. And this Amiga version is a lazy conversion. And is there anything worse than a lazy conversion of a lazy cash-in? Despite the odd little touch of humour here and there, the graphics are pretty poor throughout. And it doesn't look anywhere near the standard of Amiga games from 1991. The first game was 3 years old at this point, 4 if you count the Commodore 64 version, and that game looks far better than this one. Despite the looks, however, you are going to get some moments of fun out of it as a multiplayer game. Out of the 5 events available, the hang gliding and skateboarding were the obvious highlights, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't get any enjoyment out of them. The other 3 events, however, are a mixture of limited, confusing and poorly conceived. With plenty of other multisports games on the Amiga, California Games 2 sits quite low down in the Super League, which looks like this. Don't forget that you can see me go into more detail as to why I ranked each game where I did in next week's Super League video. The 3.5 stars that I gave it originally is certainly way too high, and I couldn't score it any higher than a 3 or 4 out of 10 if I was reviewing it today. Thank you for watching this episode of the re-review. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you've missed any of the previous episodes in this series, then we've put them all in a playlist for you right here on the channel. All of the opinions expressed in this video are entirely my own and not those of the UK Gaming Network team. Whether you agree or disagree with anything that I've said, I'd really love to hear your thoughts on California Games 2 in the comments. There's going to be another re-review coming up in 2 weeks' time, and the music playing in the background right now is a little clue as to what game I'm going to be playing. See whether or not you can work it out. Please remember to like and subscribe if you like what we do and want to show your support for the channel. Super thanks are now enabled as well if you want to really show your support, but that's entirely up to you. Don't forget you can follow me over on Twitter at UKJanZoidberg, and I'd like to say a big thank you to Teru for enduring the playtest with me on this week's episode. Until next time, happy retro gaming, bye for now.